Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me for this three-part series designed to bring a little bit of mobilization back into your spine. I know that so many of us deal with chronic, achy tension in the low back, and that can really come from overuse and it can come from underuse, right? When we have been sitting for long periods of time, it can result in fatigue in the lumbar spine. So this is a three-part series, and part one will be basically on the floor here with more of a mobilizing of the spine, a lot of undulating of the spine. And then part two will start to grow up and away from the earth, and part three will bring in a little more standing play. So all of this designed to keep your spine moving, keep your spine healthy, release that tension, and maybe strengthen a little bit of this front core. So let's go ahead and get started with part one. We are going to need a blanket and only one block for this practice. And the blanket is just if you like to have a little bit of extra padding underneath your spine, which I do. So once you've got your things, we're going to go ahead and come down onto our backs. Again, this part one is a floor practice to really reclaim some mobilization and ease in the back body. So go ahead and come down onto your back. We'll come into our constructive rest. And from here, you can take your arms out into a cactus. And if you find that when you take these arms out to the side, the backs of your hands or your forearms or your elbows aren't resting on the floor, go ahead and let your arms open out just a little bit wider. And then from here, really simple movement. We're going to roll the pelvis forward and then roll the pelvis back. And we're going to stay with this for just about a minute, just kind of rocking the pelvis forward and rocking the pelvis back. And as we continue with this movement, right, kind of rolling towards the coccyx, the tailbone, and then rolling towards the lumbar spine, just notice what is here with you. Right, certainly we've got a pretty big range of motion in the low back here, the lumbar spine. But if we really pause to connect to this movement, we start to notice that there's movement all the way through the spine, all the way up to the base of the skull. In fact, if we really kind of soften and let the body find its full undulation, we might notice that sometimes the chin tucks towards the chest and sometimes the chin moves away from the chest, right? So this movement is actually moving all the way up from the sacrum to your cranium. And of course, we're brushing the skin across the back of the sacrum, and that just really brings a lot of energy to the pelvis, and that can help us release low back tension as well. So a couple more of these, nuanced movements. It's not our biggest movement, but it sure goes a long way to release tension, release that achy stiffness. All right, how about one or two more of these rolls? And then we're going to pause and you're going to let your body come into its neutral spine. So we all have a little different tilt of our pelvis. Some tilt forward, some tilt back, and that's a lifetime of lived experience kind of landing in our bodies. So I want you to find your neutral tilt, right? We're not in the posterior. We're not in the anterior. We're just being supported by the earth here. And from this place, you're going to walk your feet in just a little bit closer to your sitting bones. And we'll bring the arms alongside the body with the palms facing down. And we're going to keep undulating through the spine. We're going to start to introduce a little more movement into your upper back, your thoracic spine. So bigger movements here. We're going to press through your feet and you're going to lift your hips. And as you do that, let's float these arms all the way up alongside your ears. And I want you to see if you can keep your shoulders rooted to the floor as we roll this down really intentionally, really mindfully. Roll it down bone by bone, rib by rib, part by part, until you get your entire rib cage to the floor. And then your pelvis can come down. And then bring the arms back down. We're going to do that a couple more times, right? Pressing through your feet, lifting your hips, floating your arms up, and then really moving through the undulation of your upper back, right? When we started, we were really moving through lumbar spine. And now we're really being intentional about reclaiming a little range of motion in the thoracic. Pelvis comes down, arms come down. 3 is my favorite number, so we're going to do it one more time. Lift the hips, float the arms up. Let's roll it down piece by piece, part by part, bone by bone, rib by rib. Can we get all 12 ribs to the floor? And then let the pelvis come down and bring your arms down. All right, nice job. Let's bring these knees in towards the chest, and we'll go ahead and open these arms back out into a T. All right, so let's think about that sacrum, right? That keystone between the two halves of your pelvis. It's like our sacred bone, right? It's what allows us to be bipedal. It's what allows us to carry the load. So let's start to draw circles around your sacrum, right? So it's as if you have a clock running around the outer edges of that keystone back there, and you're bringing a little bit of pressure to each number on your clock, kind of massaging into the low back, massaging that glute medius. We're going to continue to circle like this, but I want to give you an invitation to start to access maybe a little bit more core strength. And we know that sometimes that fatigue in the low back comes from overworking the low back, right? Even to be upright, right? To defy gravity. So one way that we can really cinch or fix or support chronic low back fatigue is to build a little bit of strength in the front body. So as we're continuing to circle in this direction, you have the option to start to let your legs move further away from you as the knees move away. It's almost like you're stretching your feet towards the bottom of the mat, and then the knees squeeze back in. And we'll notice that as the legs move further away, right, this is what we call lengthening the lever. And we have to activate some of our front core to move these legs around in space. So still massaging back body, but activating front body. All right, one more circle like this. And then as the knees come back in, let's pause. And we're going to start to circle around the sacrum the other way. So this one will keep the feet pretty close. Just draw the circles, so the massaging. And then, again, your choice. If it feels good for you, you can start to move those feet a little further away, right? A little gentle core activation here, right? Let's do a couple more of these circles. All right, last circle. And I'm meeting you back at center with knees back in towards your chest. And you're going to reach for that one block that we brought along on our journey. And we're going to take it in its skinniest setting, and you're going to place it between your thighs. And we're going to open these arms out into a T. And we're going to use this block to help keep the pelvis really level as we start to kind of rock the knees side to side, right? So it's nice to have something between the legs that helps keep the knees stacked. When the knees are stacked, that helps keep the pelvis nice and level, so we're not twisting all the way down into your sacroiliac joint, your SI joint. We're going to keep the shoulders plugged into the floor, and you're going to let your knees go halfway to the floor on the left. And then bring your knees back up to center, and let's go halfway to the floor on the other side. Right? Can you keep those shoulders plugged in? Inhale up. Exhale, drop your knees to one side or the other. Pretty simple movement. And then inhale back up and drop your knees to the other side. So as we continue this gentle rotation through the spine, you can explore letting your knees go closer to the floor if you can keep that opposite shoulder plugged into the earth. Right, so now we're starting to find our second sort of range of motion, right? If we were undulating, that was that forward and back, extension and flexion. And now we start to find a little bit of rotation in the back body, right? Enjoy this for a couple more moments. And again, your only alignment cue here is really to try to keep these shoulders rooted. All right, let's go one more to one side. And then one more to the other side. And then you're going to come all the way back through to center. And from here, we'll keep these knees in towards your chest, but we're going to get rid of the block. Block goes off to the side, and let's keep this left knee. You can take your interlaced hands and just kind of hook it around your shin, and you'll go ahead and extend your right leg all the way out on the mat. So this is that shape we refer to as Apanasana, right? Wind relieving pose. And as we really intentionally hug the knee in towards the chest, right? Again, we're releasing the low back. All right, I always like to move through a little bit of extension and flexion here. So I invite you to stay, right, nice and stable here, or you can find a little bit of movement, right? Extending your leg up to the sky, maybe activating a little more stretch for hamstrings, right? We know that an achy low back often results from more of a sedentary lifestyle. So it might be nice, right, to find a little bit of gentle movement here, stretching your leg up and hugging your knee in towards your chest. And maybe we do this a couple more times. All right, let's say that the next time that your left leg is reaching up to the sky, we're going to pause. We're going to meet here. And you're going to take a bend to that left knee, or your right knee, so that your right foot is on the floor, constructive rest. And then from here, let's externally rotate your leg that's extended towards the sky. And we'll bring your ankle to sit on your thigh. So this is figure 4, which is really kind of our quintessential low back release. And we're going to take this into just a little bit of rocking to start. So you could open these arms out a little bit wider and just kind of rock your figure 4 side to side in a way that feels nourishing for you, in a way that feels joyful in your body. Do a couple of rocks. So this is a big hip opener as well. So we're kind of easing ourselves into this before we thread the needle. So let's say here that the next time that your figure 4 comes back through to center, you're going to lift that right foot up off the floor. And you're going to take your hands, maybe hold that right thigh, or you could interlace your hands behind the thigh. And we're actually going to dorsiflex this left foot. So you're pulling your toes back towards your shin. And you're going to spread those toes as bright as they will go. And maybe as we dorsiflex and spread the toes, we notice that that amplifies the stretch across the low back, across the outer hip, right? We're really accessing that piriformis muscle, your glute medius. Let's notice our breath, right? Because if we are holding the breath, we're holding the tension pattern. So we're rewriting this pattern. We're releasing the tension. Let's release the breath. Nice big in-breath. Open your mouth for the exhale. Let's pause for another breath or two. And then from here, go ahead and release. Right foot goes to the floor. We'll let the left foot go to the floor. And we're going to switch sides. So you're going to bring that right knee in towards your chest, and we'll let the left leg stretch all the way out. So it feels really nice to kind of let these legs move in opposite directions. And then again, option to maybe pause here, just squeezing that knee in towards your chest. Or if it felt good to move through the extension and flexion with your leg, right? Maybe finding a little more stretch through that posterior chain of connective tissue, right? Your fascial lines that run from the arch of your foot all the way up the backside of the body. Let's do a couple more if you are in this rhythm, right? This is our sagittal plane of motion, right? It's a rhythm and motion of movement that our body recognizes, this forward and back movement. All right, the next time your leg is reaching up to the sky, let's pause. And you'll take the bend into the left knee so that the sole of your left foot is on the floor. Let's externally rotate, bring your ankle to your thigh. And just like we did on the first side, you just open these arms out for a couple moments and enjoy some rhythmic movement side to side. So rocking your figure four in a way that feels joyful. You can move as far to the left or to the right as feels good in your body, right? So much of this beautiful practice is in developing that conversation with the physical organism that houses our spirit, right? So move in a way that feels joyful for you. And then we're going to meet back at center, and we're going to prepare to thread the needle. So left foot comes up off the floor. You're holding your thigh, maybe interlacing behind the thigh. We're going to dorsiflex that right foot. You're going to spread those toes really, really bright. Notice again if you're holding the breath. We're going to just equate this holding the breath means we're holding the tension. So let's let it go. Nice big inhale all together. Open your mouth for the exhale. Yeah, a couple more rounds of breath here. And then from this place, go ahead and release your interlaced hands. Left foot goes to the floor, right foot goes to the floor, and we're going to stretch these legs all the way out, right? Really supported. We're out of that gravitational pull. We can really drop into our body's love affair with gravity, just completely letting go. Right? If this even feels like it's bringing a little too much tension back into the low back, consider taking a bend to your knees, walking your feet wide, and letting these knees drop in towards center, right? Just spending a couple of minutes in this place can really go a long way to releasing that chronic fatigue, that chronic tension. All right, I am going to leave you here, but if you've got a few more moments, I definitely recommend staying in this place, or maybe joining me for part 2 of our practice, and we'll start to grow ourselves a little further away from the floor. Salud. Here's to your health.